I was diagnosed when I was 13, and that was 1976. And it was a different world then. I was symptomatic my whole life. I have what's called more severe type 1 Gaucher disease. As a child, I had a big belly. I had bloody noses all the time. I had bruises everywhere. I was lethargic. I had bone pain, and there was always an excuse. The bone pain, oh, that's growing pains. The lethargy, oh, well, I'm just a lazy person. The big belly, well, I'm a skinny person, and a lot of skinny people end up having an extended abdomen. I mean, there were so many excuses. The doctors told my parents, because I'm the youngest of 3 children born within 2.5 years, that there just wasn't enough nutrients or energy to get to me, so I was a sickly child. And it's interesting how we can easily overlook what is actually a serious symptom. When I was 12, I had a huge bruise on my right calf. My mother took me to the pediatrician. I was misdiagnosed with malnutrition. He said I was malnourished. I was pale, I had a big belly, I was actually kind of yellow, I was jaundiced, so my skin had a yellow tint to it. And he said to feed me some meat and put me in the sun. We lived in New York. My mother took me down to Florida, and the bruise got worse, and it spread up my leg. And my mother, a month later, took me back to the doctor, and that's when they started doing blood tests, and I eventually was misdiagnosed with leukemia, which at that time was very common. And I was sent to a hematologist who this day, I wish I could find her and say thank you, but by then I was a 12, 13-year-old little brat and angry at the world. And she, for about 8 or 9 months, I went back to the doctor several times a week. I had blood drawn, and they kept trying to figure it out. And it wasn't a leukemia that progressed the way they thought it would. So I was never put on any treatments. They just watched me. And eventually I was diagnosed with Gaucher disease. This hematologist hit the books. There was no internet. She found that one paragraph that explains Gaucher disease, and they took bone marrow from my spine, and that's how I was diagnosed. And it was almost a year since initially going to the doctor with the bruise on my leg. So by then I was 13. Good news, it's not leukemia. Bad news, it's a rare genetic disease, and there was no treatment. It was only going to get worse. And I was told that I would be using a wheelchair by the time I was 20, and I probably wouldn't live past 30. So, for a 13-year-old to hear that, I became a rebel. I started doing everything the doctors told me not to do. And took many years after that to kind of straighten my head and my heart out, and how to figure out how to really cope with this disease. So I became quite sick. My spleen had grown to 20 pounds. My liver was enormous. I was jaundiced. I could barely walk up a flight of stairs because my hips were so bad, and I was so fatigued. And then at 25, I had my spleen taken out. I actually had a partial splenectomy. And that gave me some life. That gave me energy. I worked a full-time job. I moved in with my boyfriend, who was my best friend from college, and decided I could open up my heart a little and get romantically involved, which I would never really let myself do before that, because I don't think it was fair to someone else, because I didn't believe, I wasn't going to have a good quality of life. By the time I was 28, I entered this drug trial, and I had been going to the NIH since I was about 14. Under the care of Dr. Roscoe Brady, he was like family to us. He was like a second father to me. And he gave us hope. He gave us hope along the way. And then this trial became available, and I just jumped right into it. I was feeling okay when I went into this trial. I have to say, emotionally, it healed so much of my heart, because I knew there was hope to live long term now. I knew that if this worked, I would lead a long, normal life. And then there was new issues. I had to start thinking about, I have to take life seriously. Like, I need a real job. So yeah, I had to start thinking very differently. I never thought long term. I never thought about marriage and family. I never thought about settling down. That was a luxury. So I had to really start everything in my life changed, not just the way I physically felt. And it was, everything changed for the better.